So let me ask you this, Leslie. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I hadn't seen you in, what, a few weeks or a month? Or
A few weeks. I think the last time I saw you was Lost Margaritas.
Lost Margaritas. See, yeah, I remember.
You were
That's a
eating
good place
next
to eat, isn't it?
Yeah, we always go there at lunchtime. Easy
You know,
to get
it's
in and
so
get out.
quick.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Easy to get in and
Yeah,
out.
I mean, it's like before you sit down, they're already handing it to you. You know, the Mexican restaurants do that.
Oh yeah.
But these other restaurants, they come and say, my name's Bob, and I'm going to be your server, and I'm doing this, and my nerves can't take all that.
Well, at lunchtime, I'm usually in a hurry. Got to get back.
Yeah. How long do you have you don't have a set time for lunch, do you?
No, I just usually go. I usually go around noon, just because that's when my belly starts growling.
Yeah.
But in my job, I don't like to be gone for a long period of time, just because we never know what's going to happen. We might get referrals in, and families might need something or whatever. So
where's your place at?
So Hospice of Chattanooga, my office is located right on Key Street, just past BB&T Bank.
Yeah.
Just past El Cazador. Just past the new Indian restaurant.
Noons or nuns?
None.
You eating there?
I have not. Some of my staff have.
I ate there.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm not a big Indian food person, but
it's mostly
I eat
pinto
salads
beans
all the time. Pinto beans.
Yeah, that's what it is. Mostly, yeah. That's like refried beans. And stuff.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not much different.
I'm a salad gal. If I don't have my lettuce,
What kind of dressing?
I get ornery. Well, I like sort of vinaigrette kind of stuff. Sometimes I like honey mustard.
What about just olive oil?
Yeah, I like olive oil.
But sometimes the vinaigrette.
Yeah, but some sort of
To me,
vinaigrette.
that's a little tangy.
Yeah, I like the tangy. Get a little sweet and salty.
I don't much like the tangy. I'm more of a olive oil and salt.
Okay.
Maybe some lemon juice or something.
Yeah, now I like lemon juice too. That's good.
But when you eat a salad, you're not full the rest of the day.
No, and I don't like being full.
I
usually get some protein on it because, I gotta have I usually eat something really protein heavy in the mornings because I work out.
Like what?
Well, like usually in the morning I'll have like either a protein drink or I'll have a boiled egg with a piece of toast and peanut butter on it, which I used to hate peanut butter, but it's grown on me a little bit.
It's sort of sweet nowadays, isn't it? That it's got a little. They say there's a lot of sugar in peanut butter.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that. I just know it's high in protein.
Yeah. But where do you work out at?
We go to Body by Hannah.
Oh yeah.
Before I sold my house, and I knew that if I didn't do something, pretty steady, because at the time we were staying up at my mom's house up on the river, and then we ended up moving back towards town, and in any case, I knew that I'd get up there and I wouldn't do anything, so we were paying to do it, and I work out at Body by Hannah. We go a couple of times a week, and whereas I used to go and cycle at workout anytime, but when COVID hit, that sort of went by the wayside, and I'll probably get back in the groove here.
What time do you go?
Well, previously, the girl that trains us, she is the girls' assistant soccer coach with my son. And so during their season, we went at 6 a.m, which at first I was like, no, I don't think I can do that. But actually, I ended up really liking it.
But it seems like your muscles aren't warmed up.
Well, you get warmed up. You have about a 10-minute warm-up where you either ride the bike or you're stretching or whatever.
And then go home and take a shower? Or
Yeah, go home, get a shower, and sprint to work because I usually am at my office by 8 o'clock. Sometimes even earlier than that. So, yeah, it was. We would leave the house probably about right at 6 or a little before 6. Get there, warm up 6:10, and we had to leave by right at 5 till 7 to get back to the house to get showered.
That would be an easy thing to quit doing.
Oh yeah. Now it is easier in when it gets lighter earlier.
Yeah.
But I honestly I didn't think I could do it in the mornings, and I was like, no way. And I was talking to my son Miles, who is Mr. Fit, And he said, Mom, I think if you get started on it, you'll really enjoy it. And I did. But now we're back to the afternoons just because it's working out better.
So in the afternoons, you still go to the same place, you're just not in the mornings.
Right.
Is it crowded?
No, not really, because they only have, only have so many trainers, and they can only do so many people at one time. So the girl that trains me, she just has me and Barrett, and then maybe one other person.
How do they know what to train? Do you say, hey, I want my arms to be bigger or my legs to be bigger,
Usually
or do they tell you what's wrong?
It's total body, and she helps me because I have knee issues and hip issues, and so she helps me modify that.
You look just like you did in junior high.
Well, a little bit different.
I don't believe so.
That was a long time ago, Dee. We're old.
It was. What class did we have?
See
if you remember.
I thought we had like a social studies class, maybe.
I think it was science.
Yeah, social studies or science.
Yeah.
But I remember it was in the back corner there at Cleveland Junior.
Yeah. Or no, it was front right corner. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember certain things.
Yeah, no, there's certain things. People will say, oh, yeah, I remember that. And I'm like, I don't remember that.
Don't remember that at all.
There's certain things I remember,
Why is it certain things we remember that
know.
are so insignificant, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Well, because usually they're pivotal things that we remember.
Now, that's interesting. What would be pivotal about it? There's nothing obviously pivotal.
Well, no, but I think as
it must be pivotal.
As a junior high schooler, I grew up and my first 5 grades, I was at the Cleveland Day School. Do you remember the Cleveland Day School? It was a private school.
Yeah.
And I started really early. Like I went to first grade when I was 5. Uh-huh. So
you were always real smart.
Oh no.
Yeah, you were.
No, I was not. And I always felt.
Why do I remember you being smart?
Well, I wasn't that smart.
Maybe I was really dumb.
No, you weren't. You're pretty successful now.
That's just hard work, I think, and luck.
Well,
but you were in the upper.
No, I wasn't in honors classes. No, but getting back to being,
pivotal.
Pivotal. Middle school is like that's a serious time for kids.
It's so serious.
And I remember going from this private school that I went to, and then I went to Arnold, and that was just a huge, because the classes were bigger, and when I was at Cleveland Day School, I felt sort of, sheltered in a way, and then I went to Arnold, and that was a huge change from being in a class of like 10 people to 24 kids in a class. Mm-hmm. And then going from there to the junior high where, you just remember middle schoolers. They're going hormones and, everybody's boy crazy and girl crazy. But I was always an athlete. So, I sort of, you talking about thinking I was smart. I loved athletics, and I played basketball, and I was a tennis player, and that's what I loved. I loved to do that. Uh-huh. That was what was most important to me because I grew up on that.
I often wonder if when you're in middle school, if somebody said to you, "Hey, in 20 years or in 30 years, you're going to remember a total of 1 hour of the things that happened here in school. So don't worry about anything." Mm-hmm. Because if you think back exact times, you might remember kind of the overall, but we don't even remember what class we had together. No. That's how insignificant it was.
Yeah.
And if we could go back and find out, we may not even had a class together.
I do remember we had a class together. But those times were just, you think about teens today. That's just, they're impressionable, and, I remember in middle school being just so worried about, my appearance and what people thought of me, and, was I the cool kid? And, those are...
You were the cool kid.
Not so much.
Did you wear cuffs on your pants? Remember
I think
Levi's
so,
when
yeah.
they started cuffing
Yeah.
cuffing the pants
Yeah.
and the Izods?
Oh Lord, yeah. Remember the Leader in Chattanooga?
Oh yeah.
That was the place
Yeah.
that everybody
Oh,
had
the
to shop.
leader. Yeah.
Get all your cool stuff there.
They had the Izod on them.
Hmm.
What was the big deal about an Izod?
I don't know, but it came back.
You know, Toby Pendergrass wears them today.
Does he
You know
really?
Toby?
Oh Lord, yeah, I know Toby.
He is a
Used
good
to work
guy.
with Toby.
He's a nice guy, isn't he?
He is a good guy.
But yeah, impressionable. Now, do we grow out of being impressionable, or are we still impressionable and we don't even realize it now?
Well, I think we mature and we don't worry about it so much. You know, I mean, when you get to be our age now, it's like, you just do what you do and
Just survive.
yep, and don't worry about what other people think.
But we still do some, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
we
sure.
worry about. I'll blow at somebody on the road, and then I realize I know them. And I go, oh, you ever do that?
Yeah.
That's why I get cars with tinted windows. I mean, that's why these new cars. Some of them have a little tint on the windows,
Mm-hmm.
and I do that in case I have road rage or something. That's one of my. Let me tell you about Capstar Bank. They're located in Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Athens, Madisonville, Sweetwater, Etowah, and in Cleveland at 950 25th Street and 3855 North Ocoee Street. I've used them. I like them. Give them a try. They're no problem. Now, I quit Cleveland High in the 9th grade and went to Bradley.
Did you? I don't remember
So
that.
you don't even remember that? Boy, it was a better school
I don't remember
by
that.
far. It was so much better.
Well,
There wasn't a lot of that class stuff
yeah,
as much as there is at Cleveland.
yeah.
But when you're that age, you're so impressionable that it's almost criminal to put people in those situations where they can be impressioned so easily.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, just growing up, you worried about things. I mean, I worried about what I wore, and, I had super short hair, and I always felt like I looked like a boy.
A little more curly, right?
Yeah. And I remember, I'll never forget playing in a tennis tournament. And, and you're talking about pivotal things and things that stick in your mind. And I'll never forget, I'd played in a tennis match up here it was the old day school, but it was the First Baptist.
Yep.
By
the speed humps.
Yeah, the center there. And I remember I had one match, and then my mom came, and at that time, I think I was maybe in the 9th grade or a sophomore or whatever, and I wasn't driving yet. And so my mom came and picked me up, and I ran into Cook's to get some Gatorade. And I remember I was going down one of the little aisles, and this elderly couple were standing there, and the little lady said, "Honey, let the little boy by." And they were talking about me.
God.
And I was like, oh, man, you talk about just crushing my self-esteem. But it was because I had the short hair, and, I came in, I was in a pair of shorts, and I was sweaty from, so they probably thought I was a boy because it wasn't typical for girls to be,
Wasn't that the era that the ice skater had short hair?
Yeah, it was.
That was sort of the thing.
Yeah, that's exactly
What was
right.
her name?
Dorothy Hamill.
Dorothy Hamill, yep.
Yep. Loved Dorothy Hamill.
Yeah. Whatever happened to her?
Oh, I think she does all kinds of ice skating stuff.
I wonder if she still got that same hair.
Yeah, she probably does. That was a trend forever.
It was,
Everybody
yeah.
had it.
I still like short hair on women, myself. But yeah, pivotal moments, we probably have them, and we may still have them and not realize it.
Mm-hmm. Well, they say that usually, there are certain times or episodes in your life that shape you, as a person. So
do we have to be vulnerable at that time, or I don't know if what makes those moments so pivotal?
Well, I think you sort of look back on your life and you think about, middle school and high school and in college and, you know, certain times, like I can remember back in college and, certain times that were, really great or really bad, and then after you graduate from college, you think about, oh, your first job and, and then maybe your second job, and then when you had your kids, and you think about those are pivotal moments or pivotal times.
They're very, very important, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. They shape who you are, I think.
Maybe we were going to do it anyway, though.
True.
We don't know that, right? Now, when you got out, where did you go to college?
I graduated high school in '84.
'84, yeah.
And
did you ride around Hardee's and Walmart?
Oh, Lord, yeah. Yeah, oh, Lord, yeah. I'll never forget the day after graduation. I started my first, because I worked from the time I was about 14, because I taught tennis lessons.
Uh-huh.
And I also worked in like a little snack shop out at the country club, out off, Walker Valley. And, but my first job, like other than something like that, was at Shoney's.
Mm-hmm.
So
what'd you do there?
I was a server, and boy, I learned real quick that I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life.
Did you work behind the bar? Did they have the bar then, or was it just the tables?
No, it was just the tables.
Because I remember when we went to high school, it was they had the bar there.
Yeah, that was it. Like when you first walked in, there was a little bar, and then you walked in the back, and the tables. I worked in the back, and talk about certain memories that stick out. I'll never forget. And it was when they had a lot of the softball tournaments and stuff here in town. Mm-hmm. And this huge group came in, and it was all guy softball players. And at Shoney's, you couldn't take a tray and set it down. You had to serve it from the tray. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, I had about 6 plates on the tray, and I got to that last one and it tipped, and this guy's just hit the floor upside down, and I was mortified. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And that was probably the biggest tip I'd ever gotten. I think I got a $10 tip, because I know the guy felt horrible, for me, and he was like, it's okay.
I don't see you as a server.
No. I went back to teaching tennis.
That wasn't your thing. What made you think that was your thing?
Because 2 of my good friends were going to work there, and we thought it'd be cool to all work together.
Who were they?
Jenny Chase.
I remember.
You remember Jenny Chase?
She was a server?
Yep. And Sandy Ormby.
I remember Sandy. She married
Paige Newman.
Yeah.
We all
Sandy married Tim Ellis, right? Is that right?
No, that was Donna Bandy.
Donna Bandy,
married Tim Ellis. And ironically, Donna Bandy, her daughter, and my son Miles were great friends, and Caroline, my niece, they all were really good friends. All.
What are the odds of that?
I know, isn't that crazy?
Jenny Chase, I haven't heard that name in years. She lives out close to the airport now.
She does. Yeah, her parents live out there.
I ride by her house, and she'll be outside sometime, and I don't even wave because I've got my helmet on, and she wouldn't know who I am anyway. But one day I said, "Hey, Jenny," I bet she freaked out.
She probably did. No, were you on a bicycle or on a
bicycle?
Okay, bicycle.
Yeah, so she could hear me.
Oh yeah.
And I just said, "Hey, Jenny." I bet she thought she still don't know who I was.
She probably freaked out.
Yeah.
I see her on occasion.
I bet I wouldn't know her if I seen her.
Yeah, you would. She looks just the same. She's just same.
You look about the same as anybody I know that I went to school with.
No. You're not close enough, so you can't see all the wrinkles.
You don't have any wrinkles?
Yeah, I do.
Where?
Here and around my eyes.
There's no wrinkles there. There's not one. You're pointing at nothing.
I guess it's good genes.
I guess it is.
Good genes.
Where'd you go to college then?
So when I graduated from Cleveland, I went to UTC. Uh-huh. And ironically, when I got down there, that spring I really missed playing tennis. I missed it so bad. And so I went and I asked them if I could just, hit around with them. And the coach was like, sure, yeah, And so, but I learned real quick that, I probably wasn't going to get to play. And so anyway, but I still, played just for fun, just as a hobby. And I was a pretty good player. And well, the next year, one of the tennis players reached out to me and she said, hey, I'm graduating early, and we've got to have another player on the team. And she said, would you come back out? And I said, yeah. So I ended up going back out, and that year, that was my sophomore year, I walked on and ended up winning the Southern Conference.
Is that right?
It was pivotal moments. That was huge for me, and that was a highlight of my life. And from that point forward, and then I was scholarship, so I got a scholarship from my sophomore year all the way through my senior year.
All because that girl told you she was
graduating early, and they needed an additional player on the team.
Otherwise,
they wouldn't have been able to compete in the Southern Conference because they would have that position.
Yeah.
They would have lost.
And you wouldn't have even gone. You wouldn't have joined. You just play tennis on Sundays or something.
Exactly. So, but that was a really fun experience. I got to, there were a lot of players that I played with that were, from England, and one of the gals was from South Africa. My doubles partner, she was from Pennsylvania. And it was fun. We went to a lot of different schools, and every year in the spring we went to Hilton Head and played in at a big tournament at the Vandermeer Tennis Center in Hilton Head, which is one of the premier centers. And it was funny though. You think you're all really good. You're like, I'm a Southern Conference champ and everything. And I'll never forget the first morning of the tournament. I had an 8:00 match, and I played a girl from Syracuse, and she beat me 6-0, 6-0. And boy, I got a real big dose of humble pie. It was funny, but it was a great experience, And I was playing teams from William and Mary, and like Syracuse and Old Dominion, and really tough teams. It was really cool.
Now the people that do that in the big, what's the big tennis thing every year? They're about Wimbledon. Is that what they call it?
Wimbledon and the U.S. Open and
so
Australian
to be
Open.
one of those people, you have to start at 2 years old and play tennis every day, at 10 hours a day.
That's got to be your life. That's all you got to do is train. That's it sort of reminds me of. People would say, "Oh, well, you're a Southern Conference champion," and but I was realistic. I wasn't. I knew I was never going to be, a U.S. Open tennis player. Because I did play a lot.
Maybe you didn't care about it that much.
Well, I just think you realize your talent. It reminds me of my son. Miles, when he was at Bradley, he was a stellar soccer player, and he started playing when he was 4, and he played on a lot of travel teams, and from the time he was 4, that's what he did, and he played multiple sports, but his select team, they ended up playing in the state finals of Division II. And this, if you don't know much about soccer, there's 2 divisions, and in any case, they ended up losing in the finals. And then he came back and actually, had a great career at Bradley. They retired his jersey. We did a lot of recruiting for him, and people would say to me, "Well, why didn't he want to go D1?" Well, first of all, there were only 3 soccer programs in the state of Tennessee that were Division I. Only 3 that were Division I. And he didn't really want to go further than about 3 hours away. So that, we had to, the circle of, places that he could go. And then he was realistic, he knew he was a good soccer player, but, he wanted to go in his freshman year and be able to contribute. There's nothing worse than, sitting on the bench for 3 years until you're a senior.
Yeah.
And he was realistic. And, he ended up going to Bryan College. And, he was the sixth man or the, first man off the bench at Bryan. And then from that point forward, from his sophomore year on, he was a starter. And then ended up being the captain. He had a great career there. And if he had gone to somewhere like an ETSU, who was a Division I program, or a Christian Brothers or whatever, he probably would not step foot on the field until his senior year, and that's not what he wanted. So it's all in perspective, and it's all in being realistic, and it's all great to have confidence in yourself, but it's also important to be realistic.
That makes you wonder how much is perception and how much is perceived reality and how much is just reality of having the talent or not.
Yeah. And, growing up, my kids, they were, both of them, I've got two boys, and Miles was my oldest and Kent is my youngest. And Miles was, even as a child, was real focused. He was a very serious child. And he was always driven. He, everything he did was, he was full force in it. And then you had Kent, who, my younger one, and he played every sport too. Miles played, basketball, football, and soccer. Soccer was his best sport. And he, the whole reason why I wanted to go to Bradley Central was because he wanted to play for my brother, Kent, who was the basketball coach. And then Kent, my youngest, he ended up going to Cleveland, and he played football and baseball. And but they both were competitive, but Miles was much more serious about it. Kent, on the other hand, he's just real laid back, never met a stranger, happy-go-lucky. He's sort of an emotional child. He when football season was over and when baseball season was over, he'd shed some tears and didn't care if anybody saw him shedding tears. On the other hand, Miles was very serious, very straightforward, and but they. My whole family's extremely competitive.
Wouldn't Miles be more like Alan, serious and focused?
Yes.
It's by the book or it's
Yep.
not happening.
Yep, exactly. That is exactly right. Now, the ironic thing is that, Miles is now coaching. And, Kent, my brother Kent was the coach. And they sort of talk. Of course, my brother's now retired, but, they sort of trade, share secrets and, of coaching. And, there's nobody more competitive than my brother.
I saw Kent, I rode bikes with him.
Yeah.
You ever seen him get mad?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody used to laugh when I was going to all the Bradley basketball games. They'd laugh and say, "You and your brother have the same stomp." So
I seen him get off his bike and throw it. And nobody was going to stop him.
Oh, yeah. I think he's probably mellowed in his old age now.
It hasn't been that long ago.
No. Well, he does a lot more indoor biking now.
He does.
When Barrett and I first started dating, of course, Barrett knew Kent, and they knew each other through cycling.
Yeah, that's right, because Barrett cycled.
Right.
I cycled with Tim Waldrop, and Tim Waldrop was Kent's best friend,
Oh,
right?
Oh, yeah. But they were doing some cycling outdoors, and Kent just got to the point where he was cycling at the house, you know, inside, and you know, and Barrett and I actually cycled some, and and I loved it.
Well, it's the most addictive thing I've ever done.
I loved it, but I have to admit, one time, we went out for a ride, and I told him I was good for about 18 miles, 18 to 20 miles. But man, those last 4 miles, I was dying. And I got irritated at Barrett one day. I said, I told you I only wanted to ride 20 miles.
Yeah.
Because I was just dying those last 4. You know, but
were you clipped in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, really, and I didn't really think it was that hard. But I was nervous because I had my second knee surgery.
Yeah.
And so I was real nervous that I might fall. And I'll never forget one time, I can't remember what the road was. I think it may have been out Rabbit Valley Road.
Yeah, that's where he used to ride.
And we went up this hill, and we were coming down towards Big Creek that goes down this way?
I think that's they call it the other side of the wall or something like that. It's steep.
Yeah, so anyway, we were going up this hill, and Barrett was in front. And he said, you got it. You know, like there wasn't any traffic coming. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I heard a truck. And I thought, oh my gosh. And I got to the top of the hill, and I couldn't get clipped out. And I just went bam. And I think the guy, you know, that was coming up to the stop sign, he stopped and he said, hey, are you okay? And I said, I'm fine. I was more embarrassed than anything. And he said, don't worry about it. I've done it a time or two myself. But I was embarrassed. I was just like, and of course, you know, we were probably 20 miles in.
Yeah.
And man, I was, you know, my whole,
you're
whole
out of
body
energy
shaking,
anyway.
You know, and I couldn't hardly get back up on my bike and get clipped in and everything. And I was just like, I just wanted that truck to go. I was like, please just go so you don't see me trying to get back up on this bike.
Yeah, it's almost more, you're almost more embarrassing than.
Oh, yeah. I was thoroughly embarrassed.
But sports are good to stay. Would you rather cycle or go work out?
Well,
if you had the time.
So I really enjoyed cycling, but I had my second knee surgery about 7 years ago, and about a year and a half ago I started having hip issues, and it's called a hip impingement, and it's from repetitive motion. It was from that cycling.
Is that right?
So now I work out because my trainer can modify it, and she knows what I can do and what I can't do. But at some point, I'm probably going to have to do something with my knee because it's.
But why work out at all? We're just trying to live longer?
Well, just because it makes me feel good. It's a stress reliever for me, and I've got a stressful job. You know, working for Hospice of Chattanooga, I'm dealing with. Now I'm in a management role. And
don't you run it pretty much, the one in here?
Yeah, I'm the program director for the office here in Cleveland, and I've been in that role for 6 years. Prior to that, I was with Hospice of Chattanooga, but I was a marketing liaison, so I covered like 6 counties, and called on physicians and facilities like nursing homes and assisted livings, and I loved that. But after 6 years of driving 6 counties, it's a little bit overwhelming.
What are the counties? Let's see.
Well, so at that time I covered Bradley County, Polk County, McMinn County, Ray County, part of Hamilton County, and Bledsoe County.
Bledsoe, yeah.
So, going over to Bledsoe County, I enjoyed the drive some, but man, driving that.
And you lose the time change.
Yeah, the time
you have to think about that.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything else that day if you're going to Jasper.
No. Mm-mm. But I enjoyed that. But then at the time we had a new administrator, and she came on, and actually I had gotten another offer from another hospice. And I was just ready for a change. I was ready for
a pivot.
A pivotal moment.
Yeah.
And so I ended up. Our new administrator was decentralizing and making all of our offices sort of little individual businesses. And she said, I want you to stay and I want you to be my program director for the Cleveland office because you're born and raised here, you know everybody. And I do love, what I do. I mean, hospice, I think, is a tremendous benefit. And there's such a misconception out there about it. And so, when she asked me if I would take over that role, I said sure. And it's been challenging. I've got 34 employees, and there's always
drama.
Oh well, there's just I'm a people pleaser, and I like to make everybody happy, and you're never gonna make everybody happy. And but our team in Cleveland is phenomenal.
On the courthouse square at 30 2nd Street is the law firm of Logan Thompson Law. Since 1965, they have served the legal needs for the good citizens of Cleveland-Bradley County. If you've got a problem, they're no problem. Give them a call. "34 employees in the Cleveland hospice."
Yes.
See, I would have thought there was 5.
No, we have 10, getting ready to be 10 case managers, and those case managers are going into homes and providing one-on-one care, for folks at the end of life. So
Now is that a misconception that hospice? You always hear people say, "Well, they've called in hospice."
I don't know. I hate that when they.
To me,
that
that's
means
like
they're going to go tomorrow.
Is that like? I'm like you. I hate that term.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's it.
Well,
but that's not. Is that always it?
So here's the thing: we're all going to die. At some point, we're all going to leave this earth. Now, studies show that people that go on hospice live longer than people that don't go on hospice.
Can they live 10 years?
Not 10, because hospice is a benefit that is funded by Medicare, which you and I pay into. Okay, so when a person goes on hospice,
what allows them to go on hospice?
Okay, so they have to have a terminal diagnosis, or they have to be have a diagnosis of 6 months or less to live. But that doesn't mean that if they don't die within 6 months that they can't stay on service. And a great example of that is someone who may have Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. Okay, because you have somebody that has Alzheimer's and dementia, but they're continuing to decline. Okay, so when a patient goes on hospice, we evaluate them to make sure that there's certain criteria that they have to meet. Okay, so from that point, then they have after the first 90 days, they have another recertification period where we continue to see if they are declining. Okay, so if you can show this steady decline, they're continuing to decline, we're not going to kick them out. Okay, so they stay on service until they end up passing. So
have you ever had anybody come out of hospice?
Absolutely, we have. Absolutely, we have.
I think that's a big message.
Yeah. Well, and people think, well, if I go on hospice, I can't ever leave, or I can't, if I improve, or
I've heard they're going to kill me.
That is so not true.
Yeah, they're going to starve us now.
There's just this misconception about morphine. People are like, oh, morphine, no, that's just going to kill you. Well, what a lot of people don't realize is that morphine relaxes the lung muscles. So a lot of times people are short of breath. Well, the morphine relaxes them, okay? A minimal amount of morphine is not going to kill you, 0.25.
Probably be good. I wish I could have some every day. Like Mondays.
Oh, just on Mondays?
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, that might not be a bad idea for me on Mondays. Mondays are great.
So people do come out of hospice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So in order to get on hospice, you have to have a terminal illness.
Yes.
That says he's going to die in less than 6 months.
Exactly.
So in theory, if a doctor said he's got a terminal illness and it's going to kill him in 5 years, and he said, okay, I want to go on hospice, you can't. You got to be within 6 months, theoretically.
Theoretically, but so like for example, let's say somebody that has cancer. Mm-hmm. Okay, if they're not taking aggressive treatment,
Uh-huh.
they can come on hospice at any point. So, let's just say I found out I had breast cancer, and if I'm not taking treatment, I can go on hospice, so because I'm not taking that aggressive treatment. That's where you get into troubles, when people are wanting to go back and forth to the hospital.
Now, what does it mean to go on hospice? I mean, what does it literally mean? I mean, give me the day to day. What does it mean besides just saying he's on hospice?
Okay, so what happens is, let's say I go to the hospital, okay, and they say, Miss Painter, you have, metastatic cancer, and it's stage 4. And we really don't think that there's any treatment left for you, okay? So at that point, the doctor would have a conversation with me or my family, me and my family, and they would say, what are your wishes? Okay, well, I really don't want to do chemo, and I don't want to take any other kind of aggressive treatment. I don't know how much longer I have on this earth, but I want to go and I want to live my life, however long that time may be. Okay, so a physician's going to write a referral, and then from there, they're going to go into our hospice program. And there's not just one hospice. A lot of people think, oh, well, hospice is just one organization. No, there are many hospice organizations. And in Cleveland alone, there are 5 different programs, and the one that I'm with is Hospice of Chattanooga. And so, but what all is involved in hospice is, if you've got a team of interdisciplinary folks, okay, you have a nurse, you have aides, nursing aides, you have a social worker, you have a chaplain, you have volunteers, and you have a physician. And basically, you don't have to go back and forth to the doctor's offices. We are managing their care at home. Does that make sense?
Boy, that's a benefit to the family.
And we pay into that. And there's just such this huge misconception about that. And not only is that interdisciplinary team covered by Medicare, so let's say patients need medical equipment. They need a hospital bed or a walker or a bedside commode or whatever. Okay, all that's going to be covered under that benefit. They don't pay a dime, not a dime for it. Supplies. So a lot of folks who, are at the end of life, they need diapers or wipes or pads that go on the bed. All that's covered. So it is a huge benefit, and especially for, like, my dad was on hospice. That was, almost 10 years. Well, it was 10 years ago, and that was really when I first started working for hospice, and I felt so led to work in this industry. And then my dad got sick, and I thought, well, this is why. I can be this resource for my family, and it's not only support for that patient, it's support for the family too, because you've got all these resources. And that's what I love so much about now being in my job, because Dee, there's not a week that goes by that I don't have somebody that calls me and says, I know you work for hospice. I've got a loved one or my family member, had a good friend back several years ago that she and I went to high school together, and she kept saying, I'm seeing this decline in my mom. What do you think? And she was one of those ones that she had Alzheimer's, and we had her for 2 years. So, that's what I love about my job, is that I get to be that resource for people, that call me and they've got questions, and, what do I do and who do I call? And then they like, being from Cleveland, I know so many people, and people like knowing that they can call somebody they know.
It's a big benefit.
It's a huge benefit.
If that person's likable and they're not going to tell about something, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, we are covered by HIPAA. I mean, it's just like being in the hospital.
I mean, to have a confidant to
sure.
talk to.
Well, somebody that's been through it.
Yeah.
Somebody that's I've been through it. I mean, my dad, was under, our care, and so it just means a lot when you have working with somebody who's walked in your shoes.
Is hospice been around for how long? Is that a new
years.
thing?
No, it is. It was started. Lord, I'd have had to do my research before I came in here.
Before the 60s?
Oh,
Or 70s?
well, you know, probably in the 60s. It was actually started over in England.
Well, that was a genius idea.
Yeah.
Whoever came up with that idea.
Yeah.
But I guess at first it looked like a program that was relieving the families of their duties, but that's not what it's doing at all.
No,
We're a busier society.
It's allowing people to be at the end of life in the comfort of their own home with their family.
And allowing the family to spend quality time with their loved ones rather than just changing their diaper. If that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't have to, you know, they're not in a hospital.
It's almost a, I don't know the word I'm trying to find, but it's almost a religious type thing.
Well, it's a very holistic approach.
Yeah.
You know, and it's you've got your
very compassionate.
Compassion, yes. And
Prior to that, they just died in the homes and the family member had to take off work for 6 months.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Well, and that's why I love, you know, when I explain about hospice, it's not just care for the patient. Mm-hmm. It's support for the whole family.
That's right.
The whole family. So.
Now, is it possible that somebody goes on hospice, but they just pull out?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and you say, man, have you ever seen any situations where you say, I can't believe that guy's out. He's out here walking around, driving around like nothing happened.
Sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, getting their medications, you know,
dialed in.
Yeah, I mean, you know, nowadays there's so many people on different kinds of medications. It's unbelievable.
Is it possible that maybe that hospice allows the person to have constant care that makes them better?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they get out and they start living life again and say, well, I've got 5 more good years here. I'm going to take on the world.
Yeah. Well, and you know, we're not God. We don't know when somebody's going to die.
Have you ever seen any instances where you say, boy, God had to have a hand in that one?
Maybe. I can't honestly, just not right offhand.
But some phenomenal.
Yeah.
You have to have some thoughts that they've called hospice in, but I'm still going to get better.
Yeah, there's sometimes that does happen.
It would be more possible with hospice than without it.
Yes.
Let's say that.
Yeah.
So it's a positive thing, really.
Sure. Yep.
Is with 34 employees, how many are, you say, caseworkers? That's their case?
Yeah, we have 10. We have 10 case managers that are nurses that go in.
They're actual nurses.
The actual nurses that are going to take care of our patients. Now, right now we have about 135 patients.
Now, why would a nurse, registered nurse, I'm sure there's a reason, but why would a registered nurse sitting with this or visiting this hospice patient be better than a lady that's not a nurse? I mean, I'm sure they're not.
Well, because they're managing their medications and they're not with them, you know, they're not with them all day, every day. You know, they're making weekly visits.
Like once a week?
Once a week. Yeah, Medicare says that you have to make a nursing visit every 14 days. But Hospice of Chattanooga, our policy is that we see patients once a week, and more so if needed. As patients are transitioning, they may be seen every day. But then the aides go in and they help with bathing and toileting and you know, just light things around the house, changing sheets on the bed, that sort of thing.
So to say a person is on hospice is really a disservice to the person. They should say, I'm enrolled in the hospice program.
Yes. Well, my favorite phrase is hospice is not for the last days of life. It's for the last phase of life. That's my favorite phrase. Because it's such a misconception.
It's a misconception. It's a dirty word, but it shouldn't be.
No.
What does it stand for?
Hospice?
Yeah.
Well, it was derived from hospital. You know, when you think about
Hospital.
you know, hospice, and it was, you know, hospital, and I guess somehow they came up with, you know, the home. You know, I'm not exactly sure.
I think my wife was a hospice queen in high school.
She was.
I think so, if I remember right. I probably got that all messed up, but I think that's right.
HOSA?
HOSA, yeah.
Okay.
Is that a thing?
Mm-hmm.
That's what she was.
Yeah, I think that was. Anyway, I don't even know what HOSA stands for. I'm thinking it's some sort of a
It has to do with something.
health occupation.
Health occupation. Thank you, Gwen.
Yeah.
Schools of America, yeah.
I'm so glad we have
I guess
somebody.
that's where you get the nurses. Now, a nurse, say you're 135 patients right now. Not patients, enrollees.
Yeah.
135 enrollees. 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
That's in theory, that's 13 people. So they would have to see about 2 a day, 5 days a week.
And they usually see about 4 a day.
Because some people are needing more than...
So, no, typically, so you think about a day, 8 hours in a working day. So usually up to 2 hours a visit.
Yeah, and getting there and getting back. You don't want to
Right.
rush out like you're meeting them
But
for
the average,
lunch.
I would say that the average visit is about an hour. Sometimes it may be less because they may not need as much, you know. But normally the nurse will go in and do a head-to-toe assessment, check their vitals, check their medications, and make sure that their medications are all, you know, in their planners.
Will the nurse change the sheets?
No, the CNA would.
So the CNA goes at another visit?
Yes.
So that's 2 visits they're getting theoretically in a week.
And they're getting a visit from the chaplain. The chaplain's going to go in if they want to and, you know, pray with them, read scripture, sing a hymn. You know, they're there for the spiritual support.
How many?
We have 2 chaplains.
Are they paid or
Oh, yeah.
volunteers?
No, they're paid. And then we have 2 social workers.
Do they go also?
Yep.
So they're getting
All
a visit
the
from the nurse, the CNA, the chaplain, and the social. They're getting 4 hours a week, hour and a half apiece.
Mm-hmm. Now, the social worker doesn't go every week,
Uh-huh.
but if the family wants them, they do.
And they could.
Oh, yeah. Especially, you know, the spiritual support. You know, a lot of the families really enjoy that spiritual support.
You got to have something to hang on to.
Yeah. 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 Hospice is such a great concept.
Do you think that some of these people, in your, from what you've seen, does attitude make them live longer?
I do think that is a very important part because I think, you know, a lot of times patients will, you know, they may just say, you know, they give up. But now we'll say this, and I'm using my dad as an example. So I remember when they decided that he wasn't going to take any more treatments. He had prostate cancer and it metastasized to his bones. And
how old was he?
He was,
don't say 56.
No, he was 72, I think. Yeah, he was young, fairly young. I can't remember if he was 72 or 74. Anyway, my mom would be mad at me that I didn't remember that. But we met as a family, and the good thing as a family was that, you know, we were all on the same page. You know, we knew what Daddy wanted. We knew that this was his decision. And we wanted to be supportive of his decision. The last year of his life, I mean, he was in and out taking chemo, and he felt horrible, and he was tired all the time.
If he hadn't have done all that, he might have still been living.
Exactly. And he was a big golfer and loved to golf, and, you know, anyway, it was unfortunate. But when we had this conversation, and he said, I want to go on hospice because I don't know how much time I have left, but I don't want to be sitting in a doctor's office every day or every other day taking chemo. And so the good thing is that we were all on the same page, and we knew what he wanted. Unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't always happen, and you may have all my siblings. I have I have 3 siblings, and we were all, we knew what Dad wanted, and it was what was best for Dad. But some families are not like that, and they want, they want to push their loved one. No, you got to keep, you got to keep going. You got to keep going, and I think that's unfortunate. But I think a lot of times what happens with patients is that when they know everything's right in the world, then I think they know it's okay for them to go. Because I think a lot of times, if there's spiritual issues, or if they think that, mama's not going to be taken care of, or, my sister, if she, if
so-and-so still in prison or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. They're, they will hang on to that.
At church they'll say, and as a kid growing up, they'd always say, so-and-so died, they died peacefully in their home. I always thought, why do they say they died peacefully at home? But now as I get older, I say, boy, that's a great thing to die peacefully at home.
Well, because, when you have diseases like cancer, especially cancer, it's painful, because you've got this cancer that's eating away at your bones. And that was the one thing with my dad. He, when we talked to him at that time, when he made that decision that he just would prefer not to take any more treatments, I said, Dad, what's your biggest fear? And he said, I don't want to be in pain. And so we weren't going to let that happen, and, while I know there's a huge, huge, huge opioid crisis out there, and a drug problem in our, in our world, in our nation, these medications allow
it's got its place.
A person to pass peacefully.
My barber that cut my hair for years, I won't say his name, he got colon cancer or something. And he said, I'm not going to take anything. I'm not going to have the last 6 months going with what they want me to do. I'm just going to go out peacefully. And he went out on his gazebo and smoked pot.
Well,
I mean, who's better off? I mean, it helped him with the pain. It helped him with this.
Right.
But
well, why would you? Sometimes, and my dad, I will say, my dad did die peacefully. But the night that he passed away, I was at his house, and I would have never left if I had thought he was going to pass away that evening. Never. He died 45 minutes later, after I left.
I had this good friend that was going to die, and he was. They told him he was going to die, and so he hired this driver to drive him around. He outlasted that driver, and he outlasted the next driver. So we don't know this idea of you've got 6 months to live. But these doctors, they don't know either. No. They're just guessing.
Exactly.
So hospice is just for care when you need it.
That's right.
For medical care when you need it, not the end of life treatment.
Well, it is end of life.
Well, theoretically, you have to be to have a doctor fake a letter to say you're going to die so you can get under the hospice.
In there, it's what's called a certificate of terminal illness. So the doctor has to say, based on these things, in my best judgment, this patient will pass within the next 6 months.
Did you ever watch Monty Python?
No.
You never did?
No.
Never?
No.
Boy, you ought to watch it. They had this guy that they were coming through and putting the bodies on the wagon, and so they were going to pick this one guy up. He says, I'm not dead yet. And they said, well, you will be shortly. And he said, no, I'm not dead yet. And they said, we won't be by here for a week. We need to pick you up now.
Oh, no.
So
that's awful.
you really should watch that movie. It's really funny.
I'm sure Barrett's probably seen it.
I'm sure, yeah. Most guys have. But it's not necessarily a bad thing to be on hospice.
No.
Let me tell you about Gobble's Automotive. They're on North Lee Highway, just past Captain D's. They're family owned, they're family operated. My whole family uses them. They've stood the test of time. They will do you a good job. Give them a try. They're no problem. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. He said to tell you that you were one of his favorite people.
Oh.
And I won't tell you who it is till we leave. But he said you were Miss Clemmer's
Yes.
great
Niece.
All right, so let's do that. Miss Clemmer was a Bradley High School teacher forever.
Yes.
And she was the
Assistant principal.
And she was the sister of?
She was the sister of my dad's mom.
Which was?
Frances Smith.
Sullivan.
No.
I got it wrote down right here.
Frances.
I'm supposed to know this. I can't read my writing. So Miss Clemmer was your dad's
Aunt.
Miss Clemmer's sister was
my
your
dad's
mom.
Mm-hmm.
So where does the Sullivans come in there? Or not Sullivans,
I don't know.
Tip Smith.
Tip was my grandfather. He was married to Frances, Inez's sister.
Inez, that was it.
Yes.
Inez.
Mm-hmm.
And Tip was good friends with Zane Harris.
Yes.
Zane always talked about Tip. Now,
and he was a basketball coach.
That's right.
He won 2 state championships at Bradley, which was why my brother wanted to be a basketball coach.
Now, I used to go to this. I had a friend in Athens. I went to his house, sat in his living room several times, and that was Smith. That was Jerry Smith's daddy. Who was he?
Jerry was my dad's cousin.
But I was friends with his dad.
Okay.
Which was, he lived in downtown Athens.
I don't know who Jerry's dad was.
Which would have been, if Jerry was your dad, it was Jerry's dad.
Yeah, Jerry and
they
my
owned
dad
where the airport is.
were first cousins.
They owned where the airport is. The New Cleveland Airport.
Okay.
So Miss Clemmer was your great aunt, and your mother's last name was what?
Miles.
Miles. Boy, it's a small world.
That's how Miles got his name. My son Miles.
That's right.
So my mom's dad moved here to Tennessee from Minneapolis, Minnesota, back in the 50s. And the company that he worked for wanted him to start American Uniform Company, which is where my dad was eventually. So my grandfather started American Uniform. The company that he worked for started American Uniform. And then he worked there for...
Is that where Roger Hanger worked?
Yeah.
How's that connected?
So Roger and my grandfather somehow were connected.
I think maybe he hired Roger's daddy.
Okay, possibly.
Do you know Roger?
Oh, yeah.
I like him. Don't
Yeah,
you?
I do. I
He's
like him.
smart.
Yeah.
Do you know he was like a bobsledder?
I did not know that.
You name it, and he's done it.
Wow.
Stockbroker. He's real smart.
I see him every once in a while. As a matter of fact, He might have been there one
He
day.
was
when
when I was
were at Lost
the
Moss having
That's right.
lunch.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
So now, did Miles have a plane?
No.
I got that one confused. And isn't it funny how?
If he had a plane, I never rode on it.
Did you ever go to Fulbright?
Fulbright Park?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
How much?
Oh, all the time.
We lived there.
It's
didn't we?
funny because we just went and cleaned out some of my storage unit, cleaning out and getting furniture moved into our house. And I pulled out this picture and I showed it to Barrett and I said, look at this picture. I said, you're going to recognize some people in here. And there were all kinds of people in the picture that he saw. And there was a picture of me. And he goes, this must have been in your tomboy years. And I had on an athletics baseball uniform.
Were you playing for the Athletics?
They wouldn't let me play. I wanted to play baseball and they wouldn't let me play, so they let me be the bat girl. Back then, they didn't let girls play.
I think Melissa Price was the first girl they let play. You remember her?
No, I don't, but I was mad because I wanted to play. I'd have been good, too.
You would have been. Did you go there like 2 or 3 nights a week?
Oh, my gosh. And we lived there. I mean,
Did you ever drink a suicide?
Oh, yeah.
But it's not there anymore.
I know. That's the Greenway
The
Park.
green, yeah, and that bank.
Yeah.
When you graduated high school, do you remember the songs that were out then? What songs what songs take you back?
Well, I remember Prince.
Oh yeah, I got more speeding tickets from Prince than
Purple
anything.
Rain, and I mean, golly bum. He was big then.
If you listen to his song while you're driving, you're gonna get a speeding ticket.
Oh yeah. Let's Go Crazy. I love that. Even my kids, loved that song when they were growing up.
Red Corvette.
Oh yeah. But Bruce Springsteen was big.
I never was a big Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, I was a big Bruce Springsteen.
How about REO Speedwagon?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, those are the ones I can remember. I wasn't really.
How about Loverboy?
Oh, I loved Loverboy.
Who was better, Loverboy or REO Speedwagon? That's a tough one, isn't it?
I'd say Loverboy.
Why?
I don't know. I just like their music better.
I don't know. I think that was I think maybe Loverboy was maybe more this region or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But now it's like,
he was more colorful. He had wore the bandana on his head. Remember that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
The slick leather
But
jacket.
then when I got into college, it was U2. U2 and REM. Those were the big.
Oh, REM, yeah.
Those were the big ones.
Yeah, and that guy, I can't think of his name. That was the parachute pants and stuff like that. I never had a pair of them. Did you?
No. But I was laughing the other day. I was talking to a girl. I was at a wedding yesterday, and we were talking about when she got married in the 80s, and my first marriage, that was back in the 80s, and I had the big, huge, poofy sleeves, and everybody's hair was huge, and I've got curly hair, and
pads on the shoulders,
yes,
right?
Oh yeah, shoulder pads, and the girls used to tease their bangs up.
Oh yeah,
we had huge hair.
Yeah.
So,
it was the hair bands they called them. But we're not even that old. We're just in the 50s is the new 40s.
Exactly.
So we don't need to think we're old, right?
Right. Well, I saw something the other day that I laughed about it. It said the 50s are the new 40s, and the
that's for the old people. It's the 30s for us.
Yeah, midnight's the new, or 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. is the new midnight.
They say when you get in your 70s, that sexy's being able to see at night.
That's funny.
Or drive in the dark, I guess. Oh, he's sexy. Oh, what does it mean? Well, he can drive at night.
Drive at night. That's funny.
But I ride bikes, and this one guy's 72, and he rides with us, and he just got a tattoo lately on his calf, and I think, man, that's really encouraging. It's not, but now if we were to listen to modern music today, would they think we was being immature? Or we just...
Well, I don't know. When Miles and Kent were in high school, of course, I was always carpooling the kids somewhere. We were going to basketball games or.
So you had to listen.
So I had to listen to them because and so I stayed up on the tunes for for a period of time. But I just soon listened to, and now I know how my parents felt. Now I just soon listen to something easy going, which is why I like to listen to. Steve Hartline's show or his station.
Yeah.
Because it's,
But you don't like any modern music now?
Not so much the rap stuff.
Dua Lipa?
Now, I thought that the Super Bowl show was good.
Yeah.
The halftime show.
How about Dua Lipa? You heard of her?
No.
She's singing a song with Elton John now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I know who that is.
Well, that's a good song.
Yeah, that is a good song.
That's bringing the old with the new.
Exactly. And I mean, Elton John's classic.
How old would he be?
I don't know.
75?
You'd have to Google
80,
that.
75 or 80?
You'd have to Google that.
But we can't act old. So people in hospice, the ones that, in other words, how much does attitude help the physical?
Oh, I think it helps tremendously.
It's got to play a part, doesn't it?
Well, and that's why you asked me why I work out. Well, I want to try to stay as healthy as long as I can.
Would you listen to music while you're working out?
Oh, yeah.
What do you listen to?
The louder, the better.
What do you listen to?
Well, so at Body by Hannah, they've got whatever playing, but it's always something upbeat. But now, when I was a runner, oh man, I loved to listen to Thunderstruck.
Oh yeah, AC/DC.
Oh yeah, that just always got. I can put my earbuds in and
Back in the Fast Lane by the Eagles.
Oh man, yeah. But I always liked listening to
Kiss.
Yeah, no, not Kiss so much. Not Kiss so much. But I loved Darius Rucker and oh gosh, what was the name of his band? Hootie and the Blowfish.
I never was a Hootie and the Blowfish
Oh
fan.
man, I like Darius Rucker's voice.
That must be a woman thing.
Well, I just like that deep part.
Raspy.
Yeah.
Now, you don't go by Leslie Smith now. See, I know you as Leslie Smith.
Yeah, well, when I was married to my first husband, I was Leslie Smith Christian. But then my ex-husband married a Leslie. And so
I bet that messes him up.
I went by Leslie Smith Christian because people would get confused. And so then when Barrett and I got married, it was real easy to change my name, but I didn't want to change my name because of my boys. Back when.
Yeah, a woman has to change her name. That's a big step.
Mm-hmm. I didn't want my boys to think that I didn't want their name. So.
Yeah, that could be taken the wrong way, couldn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know why people have to change. Why a woman has to change her name, her last name for her husband. Why can't you still be two individuals?
You can. I have a good friend who's still by her.
I mean, why change it? What form do you fill out?
Yeah.
Is there a form?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to get your driver's license changed and you have to get your Social Security changed.
All for what point?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
You're still you. You don't change your first name.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But really the reason why I went by Leslie Smith Christian at that time was because I didn't want people to be confused with the boy's stepmom, because she's Leslie Wilson Christian.
I see,
But then when then they were out of school and everything, it was easy to change it when Barrett and I got married.
Speaking of Barrett, what's it like being married to Barrett?
I'll tell you that, and I really believe this. So, I was single for a long time, and I really didn't think
5 years.
Oh no.
3 years.
No, 12 years.
Is that right?
And I dated, but I just that really wouldn't. It wasn't on my mission, and really, I wanted my boys to be my focus, and they were, and when I met Barrett, there's not very many people that I think are up there with my dad, because I felt like my dad was a man of integrity. He was the eternal giver. He always put, us before anything. I always knew that, Dad was, he just never pressured me. I mean, he was just, and being married to Barrett is probably the easiest thing in the world, because he is so easygoing. We have fun together. We enjoy sports together. But he is a man of integrity. He is as honest as the day is long.
Nobody questions that, do they?
Never.
I mean, think of one person.
Never.
Nobody questions
and that's why I said I firmly believe that my daddy sent Barrett to me, because he wanted me to have somebody that was about as
That's very
perfect
possible.
I
A stranger,
firmly believe that.
that's very possible.
Yep, I firmly believe it.
Because it's too odd.
Well, it's like people, if you asked anybody out in the community that knew my dad, they could never say a bad thing about my dad.
I didn't know him, but I know a lot of people that are saying exactly like you're saying. Not anybody says any different. It's just like Barrett. Nobody has a problem with Barrett.
He's just a good man. He's
not going to bless you out, is he?
No. He has to rein me in on occasion, because I'm a little bit of a live wire.
What makes him that way makes us this way. I mean, he's not passive, right? He's not passive.
Mm-mm. He's just got a very even temperament.
Like his daddy?
Mm-hmm. And I didn't know his dad.
Oh, I knew his dad.
But I think that from what I understand,
I knew his dad better than I know you, if that tells you anything.
Wow.
I knew him well. Smokey. If he saw you in town, he'd wave at you like this. That's one of those things I remember.
You remember.
So, Barrett, is he's easy to get along with then? Because me and my wife, I'm Italian, so I can get it. It's more of an art with me as far as arguing.
I can see that.
Does Barrett? He was in his own practice now, right? Or he's the judge now, right? He's not doing his own practice now. Too busy, I guess.
Yes,
right?
he was. He had his own practice, and he was part-time judge.
Yeah.
He has been in practice, 30 years plus.
Yeah.
And he decided to open his own practice, and then Dan Swafford retired early, and so he had planned to run for the juvenile judge position, and had talked to Dan Swafford, just said, hey, when your term is up, I'm planning to run for your position. Well, he decided he wanted to retire early, so he got in touch with Barrett and said, hey, I'm going to retire early, so the county commission will have to appoint a new judge. So that's how he became judge. He was already the city judge, which was just a part-time, did traffic tickets and that sort of thing. So, and he would sit as special judge on multiple occasions.
And a lot of lawyers do that, right? But,
yeah.
But he was, so in other words, he's no stranger to the judgeship.
No. And he has, the last, since the appointment and back in October, I mean, he is so passionate about this job, and I think it's a calling. I really think that he loves this community. He wants to make it a better place. he wants to see that these kids in juvenile court succeed. You know, the really neat thing is that when he first started in the role, I mean, you know, it was like a whirlwind. You know, and at that time we had just sold our house, and we were getting ready to build a new house, and you know, I would say that the last 18 months has been a whirlwind. But one of the things that he was so excited about was developing a mentorship program for these kids that don't have the folks, at home. And I think that's probably one of the things he's been most excited about, is really trying to make a difference in these kids' lives. And, he's getting that, that started and up and running. And that's really one of his
what's
passions.
Ironic? That you and him both have gotten into roles. It's what he's doing with the mentor program is similar to the hospice. Did you see the similarities?
Well, it's,
I mean, it's helping people
in different phases of their
in
lives.
different phases in a certain,
Well,
had you ever thought of that? Or
no. I was thinking about that today, and I was just thinking about, when I went to college, and did I think, oh, wow, I really want to go back and make a difference in my community. But now, when I started working for hospice, I hope that I'm making a difference in this community, because I love this community. As a kid, you probably thought, oh, yeah, Cleveland, I don't want to stay here. But I mean, when I graduated from college, I wanted to come back here. And my whole family's here. My mom is here, both my brothers, their kids. My sister's here. My sister teaches at Bradley. And I love that. To me, there's nothing greater than family. And but yeah, so Barrett is making a huge difference in one aspect of our community, and I feel like
that phase of their life.
Exactly. And I'm doing what I do in this phase of life. And
neither one of them were necessarily planned out. It just evolved, right?
Well, I think that Barrett had a very strong, I think that this is what he eventually wanted to do.
It was almost written in the stars with him.
Yeah, well, I think so, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And, I think mine sort of evolved, and I love the part of my job being able to feel like I'm helping people, when families call me, or, when a classmate calls me and says, hey, I know you work for hospice.
I bet you're really good at the day-to-day organizing the business end of it.
Well, I try. I like to think I am. I'm very organized. I mean, I've got a lot of energy. We've had some changes.
Are you organized in your personal life too?
Not as much.
You OCD?
But I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of that is because Barrett's so laid back. He's probably a little bit more organized at home than I am.
Who's the most who keeps their drawers with their socks in it the neatest?
Oh, Barrett. For sure. He's got all his clothes nice and neat,
Does the shirt collars all face the same direction and everything?
I'd have to think about that. But I'm going to say yeah.
Is he got a little OCD? Who's more OCD, you or him?
Probably him.
Wonder where he got that.
I don't know. Probably from being an attorney. Because you got to be, got to be organized, and you got to be prepared. And he loves his suits.
He's a neat guy, that's for sure.
I'm his campaign manager too.
I thought Eddie Cartwright was his campaign manager. No, Eddie's his treasurer, right?
No, my brother's his treasurer.
Oh, that's right. What does Eddie do?
Eddie's on his committee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That can't hurt him, can he?
No. Eddie's wonderful. I love Eddie Cartwright. He's up there with my dad.
I texted him this morning, and he didn't text me back.
Well, then you
He texted back and said, I'm at church.
Oh, okay.
I thought,
see, I don't even take my phone into church.
You don't take your phone to church?
No.
How come?
Because I want to be totally focused on Jesus.
You don't turn the volume down?
No, I just leave it in the car.
You go to First Baptist?
Mm-hmm. Love First Baptist.
I got lunch with them Tuesday. No, Wednesday. No, Tuesday. Meeting Bart.
Oh, Bart Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll love Bart. And of course, I love Jeff Levengood. I've known Jeff forever.
Well, we have, hadn't we? Known of him. You know, I asked him to come here, and he said he couldn't.
Well, you have to get him another time.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Well,
Because he's got a lot to talk about, doesn't he?
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, think about it. If there's anybody that's got a lot to talk about, it's John Loving.
Jeff.
John
well,
was
he
his
makes
brother.
me cry all the time because he had a heart attack.
Yeah, I'll make him cry.
Oh my gosh! To hear him tell the story.
Well, I'd called him a few months after that, and so it might have been due to that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But what about John? We went to school with him.
I never knew John much, and I guess the reason that I knew Jeff was because Jeff dated Rachel, his now wife, and she was a big tennis player. Wow. So we used to play tennis all the time together.
Well, I went to school with his brother in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade.
Okay, well, so yeah. See, and John did John go to Bradley?
No, John went to Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know
I remember when their dad died, passed away.
Well, I remember that too.
Because we were playing at Fulbright. He was a coach, I think.
Oh my gosh.
But you know, we have to think about life has got to be exciting. We got to work out. We got to listen to good music, and we got to think that we're going to live to be 110, and we're going to need the money because we got somebody pregnant. Thanks for coming.
You wild thing.